Welcome back to the Monster Jam season recap, where we take a deep dive into a particular driver's season and analyze his or her performance throughout that season, and then give it a rating. So on today's season recap video, we take a look at Damon Bradshaw's 2015 season. This is Monster Jam season recap, Damon Bradshaw's 2015 season. Like last time, a big thanks goes to Monster Hub for helping gather the results for this video. But before starting the recap of Bradshaw's season, let's give some quick context leading into his 2015 season. Bradshaw had a pretty good 2014 season, competing in various cities and even touring overseas to places such as Australia, New Zealand, and Costa Rica. He would pick up wins on his trips overseas, winning the racing competition in Friday's Costa Rica show and Saturday night's New Zealand show. His performance at the World Finals was somewhat lackluster, losing in the quarterfinals and finishing 20th in freestyle. But 2015 was a new season and filled with intrigue. Bradshaw, along with 15 other drivers, were invited to compete in the first ever Monster Jam Fox Sports 1 Championship Series. This series pitted 16 of Monster Jam's greatest in an 8-week-long tour to battle it out to win the points championship and an automatic bid to Monster Jam World Finals. It was very fitting that Bradshaw's first show for the new season was the first stop for the 2015 Fox Sports 1 Championship Series. On January 3rd, 2015, the NRG Stadium in Houston, Texas would see the beginning of an incredible series. Bradshaw would lose in the semi-finals to Charlie Porkin in Gravedigger and would finish 4th in freestyle with a score of 32. Leaving Houston, Bradshaw had no points on the series, as the way points worked was you could only gain points by winning a competition or being the fastest qualifier. Heading into Atlanta in the Georgia Dome on January 10th, Bradshaw would want to put some points on the board. And earn points he did. Well, sort of. He would be the fastest qualifier, putting a single point to his name. However, losing in the semi-finals and finishing 5th in freestyle meant that he would not climb up the leaderboard as much as he wanted to. The following week in Tampa was almost an exact repeat of last week in Atlanta. He was the fastest qualifier, lost in the semi-finals, and finished 7th in freestyle. 3 weeks into the championship series, Bradshaw was looking like a possible contender to take the championship series, but would really need to pick it up in order to win. Heading into the halfway point of this series in Indianapolis, Indiana, Bradshaw had one goal in mind: win a main competition. Winning racing or freestyle would net the winner 2 points to their series total. He was currently in a 3-way tie for 3rd place in the series. Despite not qualifying the fastest, he'd go on to win his first competition win of the season by defeating Dustin Brown in Monster Mud. Bradshaw would finish 2nd in freestyle, and it moved into yet another 3-way tie, this time for 2nd place. On January 31st, the tour would head to St. Louis at the Edward Jones Dome. Bradshaw would want to replicate his success from Indianapolis and win even more competitions. He would qualify the fastest yet again, however, he would once again lose in the semi-final round and finish 2nd in freestyle. However, this allowed him to break the tie between him and the other 2 drivers, as he would be the definitive 2nd place as of St. Louis. On February 7th, the tour would head to Anaheim, California at Angel Stadium. This event was definitely not his best, losing in the semi-final round for the 5th time and finishing 4th in freestyle with a score of 27. Bradshaw and a few of the other drivers from the Fox Sports 1 Championship Series would take a detour and head to Salt Lake City, Utah at the Energy Solutions Arena. Bradshaw had varying success that weekend, but did manage to win 2 wheelie competitions and 2 freestyle competitions. While this not being for any points, it may have helped Bradshaw get back into the groove for the rest of the championship series. That statement would go on to help him out in the following week in Arlington, Texas at AT&T Stadium. Bradshaw would qualify the fastest once again and would also win the racing competition that night, adding 3 points to his series total. Unfortunately for Bradshaw, he would not win freestyle as he would place second in the standings with a score of 36. However, this enabled Bradshaw to take the lead of the championship series with only 2 more stops remaining. The comeback story Bradshaw was hoping for, unfortunately, would come crashing down over the next 2 weeks. On February 28th at Detroit's Ford Field, he would qualify fastest, lose in the semi-final round again, and finish 9th in freestyle. This poor performance thankfully kept him in the running, but allowed Neil Elliott in Max D a chance to win it all in the final week in Syracuse. Bradshaw's night would go from bad to worse in a matter of minutes. He would qualify 3rd, meaning he would lose valuable points that he desperately needed if he wanted to win the series. But what would happen in round 1 was truly shocking.
Wow, if there's one pass that shows how important every point is, it's Damon Bradshaw, Monster Energy right here.
Bradshaw had ruined his chances of taking the series championship by crashing the truck, completely totaling it, and hitting the wall. He lost fair and square to Dustin Brown, and he had taken himself out of freestyle. He had come so close to winning the championship series and finished 1 point behind Neil Elliott in Max D. Due to him finishing within the top 4, he'd be gifted an automatic berth to the Monster Jam World Finals in Las Vegas, Nevada. Bradshaw would in fact compete in one final show before Vegas, and that was in Allentown, Pennsylvania from March 13th to 15th at the PPL Center. He would win a total of 2 obstacle course competitions, 2 freestyle competitions, 1 wheelie competition, and 1 donut competition. March 27th came, and Bradshaw would want to win a championship, as everyone does. He qualified 2nd fastest, only slower than Todd LeDuc in Metal Militia. In round 1, he would defeat Steve Sims in Stone Crusher, and in round 2, he would defeat Chan Fortune in Soldier Fortune. The quarterfinals saw Ryan Anderson in Son of a Digger defeat Bradshaw to advance to the semi-finals. However, Bradshaw's teammate, Cody Saucier, also advanced to the semi-finals in the hopes of winning a championship. Unfortunately for Saucier, staging too deep resulted in him redlining and getting disqualified, advancing Ryan Anderson to the championship race. Anderson would ultimately lose to LeDuc in the championship race, but Bradshaw would now move his focus to the freestyle competition. And while not winning the competition, Bradshaw would finish within the top 10, ultimately placing 9th with a score of 27.5. So far, Bradshaw's 2015 season wasn't the most impressive. He performed very well, or had glimmers of hope. He wanted to change that post-World Finals. Bradshaw's first post-World Finals show was in Santa Clara, California at Levi's Stadium. He would be eliminated in round 1, but would finish 2nd in freestyle with a score of 27. His next show would be in Wichita Falls, Texas from April 17th to April 18th. His first show was not anything out of the blue, winning freestyle but placing high in other competitions. Show 2 and Show 3, however, were practically dominated by Bradshaw. From Show 2 onwards, Bradshaw had won every single competition bar donuts at Show 3, a pretty impressive feat if you ask me. Next up on Bradshaw's schedule was a trip to Moline, Illinois on May 16th to 17th. as he would win the only competition he competed in, that being wheelies. The truck had broke and was unable to compete for the rest of the show. Thankfully, his truck was fixed and was able to make it back for show 2, and would go on to win freestyle but place in the top of the standings. From May 30th to May 31st, Bradshaw would compete in Halifax, Canada at Scottier Speed World. He would have varying success, winning 2 wheelie competitions and 1 obstacle course competition out of the 3 shows. Bradshaw had made a habit of finishing high in the standings for each competition, but could very rarely translate that into wins. Heading into the halfway point of his 2015 season, he would compete in the 2015 Path of Destruction Tour. Bradshaw would compete in both East Rutherford and Foxborough, with East Rutherford being first on June 13th. He would advance to the championship race but lose to Adam Anderson in Gravedigger the Legend. He would unfortunately have an extremely short freestyle run that saw him have an epic crash into a save, but broke the truck too much, hindering him from finishing. He would place 18th in freestyle, a devastating fact. The following week at Foxborough, he would once again be defeated in the semi-final round and would have a phenomenal run, but ultimately would finish 3rd in freestyle. With the Path of Destruction Tour coming to a close, he would head to West Lebanon at the historic Lebanon Valley Speedway from July 12th to July 15th. Unfortunately, once again he would have varying success, finishing as high as 2nd place for a given competition. Bradshaw went winless in Lebanon. However, from July 25th to 26th in Stafford Springs, Connecticut, he would turn around his average week in West Lebanon and turn it into gold. He would win all 3 freestyle competitions from all 3 shows, while also picking up a wheelie and racing competition victory at show 3. August 7th to 8th was in Sunrise, Florida, and this was his last show on American soil for his 2015 season. At show 1, he would place near the top of the standings, but not win anything. Show 2 was much of the same, only this time winning the wheelie competition with a score of 32. For show 3, he would finish 2nd in wheelies and win the racing competition. Unfortunately, the engine would blow up mid-race. He would still win the competition, but that meant he was out for the rest of the show. Bradshaw's final shows were part of the overseas tour, that being the 2015 Australian tour. This was also the first time I was able to meet Bradshaw in person, as the previous year I had only met Morgan Kane and Scott Lidico. The first stop for the tour was in my hometown in Brisbane on October 3rd. Bradshaw would make it all the way to the final round of racing before being defeated by Adam Anderson in Gravedigger. He would finish 3rd in freestyle after an incredible save attempt that saw him end his run early. The following week, the tour moved to Melbourne on October 10th, with 2 shows taking place. On Saturday afternoon, Bradshaw would win racing, defeating Lee O'Donnell in Zombie Hunter. Yet again, Bradshaw would finish 3rd in freestyle. Later that evening for show 2, he would for the... I've lost count now, hang on. Okay. For the 8th time this season, Bradshaw would lose in the semi-final round. He would then unfortunately finish 10th in freestyle. Next up on the Australian tour was Sydney, and Bradshaw wanted to win another competition. Unfortunately, he would be defeated in round 1, but would compete in the round 1 loser donut competition, where he would tie for 3rd with Mark McDonald. He would finish 5th in freestyle though, and would have high hopes heading into the final week of the tour. Speaking of which, the final week of the Australian tour had rolled around and Monster Jam invaded Perth for the very first time at Domain Stadium. Like Melbourne, there were 2 shows, which gave Bradshaw a chance to win at one or the other. At show 1, he would go on to lose in round 1 and yet again compete in the donut competition. Thankfully, he would win that competition and also would finish second in freestyle with a score of 39. At show 2, he would yet again lose in round 1, compete in the donut competition, but would finish in last place. Bradshaw would finish third in freestyle with a score of a 34, and that would conclude his 2015 season. So to summarize, Bradshaw's season, it was very up and down. It wasn't bad by any means, but definitely wasn't as consistent as other drivers' seasons. Before we rate his season, a quick season overview. Bradshaw competed in a total of 43 shows, not including World Finals, with 18 of those being stadium shows and 25 of them being either arena or speedway shows. He has a total of 3 stadium racing victories, but no stadium freestyle wins, as he was a runner-up a total of 5 times. He has 7 arena racing and obstacle course wins, 10 arena freestyle wins, 11 arena wheelie wins, and 2 arena donut wins. So with a grand total of 43 appearances and 33 total victories, I believe that Bradshaw's season was a good season. While not winning as much as he had hoped and falling short of the Fox Sports 1 Championship Series, he did perform to a high level at every show he was at. And well, that's all we have for today. Thank you everyone so much for watching, and I'll see you all soon with some more Monster Truck content.